Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to lesson number 7 in Islamic Inheritance, where we are currently discussing the Al-Furud or heirs with fixed shares. Inshallah, in today's lesson, we will be going over the Bint, over the daughter. Now, as I'm sure the listeners or the viewers or the students are aware by now, we will be covering the format of the table. And the Bint has a total of 3 conditions which we need to learn off by heart. Condition number 1, where the Bint will receive half of the inheritance, and the situation or the condition is when alone, when the Bint is alone and the Ibn is not present. So when the Bint is alone and the Ibn is not present. Condition number 2, when 2 or more, so there's 2 or more Bints and the Ibn is not present. And the third condition is the Bint will receive half of the Ibn's share when the Ibn is present. Relatively straightforward. Inshallah, things will become clearer through the examples and through the questions, inshallah. But for now, we need to make sure that we have learnt the table off by heart. So, condition number 1 said, when alone and the Ibn is not present, then the Bint will receive half of the inheritance. So let's take an example. We have here Zawj, Bint, Akhli Ummin, and Ab. First of all, before we do Bint, let's just quickly do all the other Al-Furud that we've covered before. So we know that the Zawj over here will get a quarter. The Akhli Ummin will be Mahroom, Mahjub. And the Ab will receive 1/6 plus Asaba. Now the question arises, which is the topic of today, the Bint. What does the Bint over here get? So let's see the condition. When alone. Is the Bint alone over here? Yes, there's only one of them. So the Bint is alone. There's not 2 or more. And the Ibn is not present. Nowhere in this question can you see, or in this scenario, can you see, is the Ibn present? And therefore, underneath the Bint, we will write half. Another example for condition number 1. Again, the condition reads, when alone and the Ibn is not present, then the Bint will receive half of the inheritance. So again, let's do the Al-Furud that we've covered so far. So we've covered the Zawja, and we know that the Zawja will get 1/8. And we know that the Jad will get 1/6 plus Asaba. Over here, you can see that there is only one Bint, only one, and the Ibn is not present. So the Bint will receive, very straightforward and easy, half of the inheritance. So that's condition number 1 then. When alone and the Ibn is not present. Condition number 2. When 2 or more and the Ibn is not present, then the Bint will receive 2/3 of the inheritance. So let's take another example over here. Zawja, let's quickly do this one. We know that the Zawja receives 1/8 over here. We haven't covered yet, so don't worry about that, inshallah. Over here, we can see that there are 2 Bints. So the condition says when 2 or more. So we can see that there's 2 Bints over here, 1 and 2. And the Ibn is not present. Can we see the Ibn anywhere? No, the Ibn is nowhere to be seen. And therefore, what we'll do is we draw a line underneath both the Bints, and we write 2/3, signifying that both the Bints together will receive 2/3. So in this situation, we need to be careful not to write 2/3 twice. We only write 2/3 once. We draw a line and we write 2/3, signifying that this 2/3 will be distributed between these 2 Bints over here. Another example for condition number 2. Again, the condition reads, when 2 or more and the Ibn is not present, the Bint or Banat or Bintan, whatever you want to say, the Bints will receive 2/3 of the inheritance. So again, let's do the ones that we know. We know that the Zawj will receive a quarter. We know that the Ab will get 1/6 plus Asaba. And over here, we can see that there are 2 Bints there's no ibn present, and so we'll draw a line underneath these two bints here and write 2/3. So that's condition number 1 and condition number 2 done. Condition number 3, when the ibn is present, then the bint will receive half of the ibn's share. The bint will receive half of the ibn's share. So let's take an example. Again, let's do the ones that we know already. We know that the zawja will get 1/8. The ab will receive 1/6 because the ibn is present. Now over here, we can see that the ibn is present. The ibn is present. So now what we'll do is we will draw a line underneath both of these. All the bints, all the ibns together, draw a line underneath them. And all we write is ayn for asaba. Ayn for asaba. So let me see that again. When we see in a question that there are bints and there are ibns, very straightforward, very easy. We draw a line under all of them and we write ayn for asaba. We know that asaba means that they will receive the remainder of the wealth. So we will give 1/8 to the zawja, we will give 1/6 to the ab, and anything else, anything left over, we will give to the bint and the ibn. Now, inshallah, I'll briefly mention it now, but this we will discuss later in greater detail, inshallah. How we will distribute the wealth, the remainder of the wealth between all the bints and the ibns is that the ibns will always receive double of what the bint receives. Now, mathematically, how do we do that? What numbers do we use? Inshallah, we'll discuss all of that later. All you need to keep in mind is that the ibn will receive twice as much the bint receives. For now, in terms of answering our question, we will draw a line and write ayn for asaba underneath, and inshallah later on in the series we'll build upon this concept and we'll discuss how to give and what to give exactly. But for now, all we're doing is assigning the fractions and assigning the shares. So let's take another example for condition number 3. Again, we need to know the condition off by heart. This needs to be learnt. When the ibn is present, the bint receives half of the ibn's share. So again, we know that the zawj receives a quarter, ab gets a 6. Over here, be there 1 bint, 2 bint, 3 bint, 4 bints, whatever they may be, the fact that there is an ibn present, all we do is underneath the ibn and bints, we draw a big line and we put a nice big juicy ayn for asaba underneath. Okay. And another example for condition number 3. Again, when the ibn is present, the bint will receive half of the ibn's share. So again, let's do the ones that we know. We know that the zawja will get 1/8. Akhli ummin mahjub. Jad will be mahjub also. Ab will receive 1/6. And now the ones that are left are these over here. Bint, bint, ibn, ibn. So when the ibn is present, the bint receives half of the ibn's share. So we've learned that we just need to draw a big line over here and write ayn for asaba underneath. Hopefully that's clear, inshallah. So as always, let's dive into some questions, inshallah. And as I'm sure you do in every lesson, get yourself a pen and paper and write these questions down. Pause the screen when I say the question, when this question comes up on the screen, and inshallah take a go at the question and then play the video again and you can check your answers, inshallah. So in this situation, the zawj will receive a quota because the offspring is present. The akhli umman will be mahjub because of the ibn and bint also. And over here, condition number 3 means we'll give bint and ibn asaba. In this question, the zawj receives a quota. The jad receives 1/6 plus asaba, and the bints together will receive 2/3. In this question, zawja, will receive 1/8. أخ لأم will be محجوب. أب will receive 1/6 plus عصبة. And bint will receive half according to condition number 1. In this question, Zawj will receive a quarter. Now don't get confused. Over here we have the Ibnul Ibn. The bint will receive a half. The Ibnul Ibn, we haven't discussed this yet. And the we haven't discussed this yet also. And so, although in the other previous lessons we say, when we say Ibn, we mean Ibn, Ibnul Ibn, so on and so forth. When we mentioned that in the previous lesson, what that meant was with regards to making the other relatives mahjub. So for example, mahjub or changing their share. So for example, over here, ab, because the Ibn al-Ibn is present, he would have an effect on the ab, and we would say that the ab would receive 1/6. But with regards to the bint, the Ibn al-Ibn will not have any effect. So keep that in mind, inshallah. Over here, Zawja receives 1/8. Bint half. Bint al-Ibn we haven't done yet. We haven't done. Akh li ummin mahjub. In this situation, Zawja receives 1/8. Bint Ibn will be Asaba. Bint al-Ibn we haven't covered. We haven't covered. In this situation, Zawja 1/8. Bint Ibn together Asaba. Ab 1/6. Jad mahjub. In this situation, Zawja will receive 1/8. Jad will receive 1/6. The Bint Ibn will receive Asaba. In this situation, Zawj will get a quarter. We have Bintul Ibn. Bintul Ibn we haven't covered. So Bint will receive 1/2. Ukht li ummin mahjub. And Jadda we haven't covered as yet. In this question, Zawja all together would receive 1/8. Bint will receive half. Ukht li ummin will be mahjub. Jad is 1/6 plus Asaba. And Jadda we haven't done yet. In this question, Zawj will receive quarter. Bint together 2/3. Ab will receive 1/6 plus Asaba. We haven't covered. Jad will be mahjub. And Jadda we haven't covered. In this question, all of them together will be Asaba. As always, consolidate your learning. Have a go at our after lesson questions. Find the link in the description below. So please do take some time out to consolidate your learning. And the more questions we do, the stronger our learning will become and our knowledge will become, inshallah. Jazakumullah.